Hey, everybody. I didn't mean to go live just yet. I accidentally hit the button. Camera's falling down. And it looks like I'm really zoomed in. So let me figure out if I've got my Mevo app. And I might have the camera actually zoomed in for a moment. Oh, yeah. There we go. Hey, everybody. Look at that. I'll give my mom a little tug just in case she's watching. All right. I don't know how to turn my Mevo app off. Yeah, there we go. Nice. Perfect. All right, everybody. I am back. So let me say hello to everybody here. Get my all messages put up. All right, we got the Zine Machine. We got Eugene Machine. Steve. Laura. Shirley. Dave. All right. Mike. TK, how are you? Should take breaks more often. Neil. Ark. All right, first things first, before it gets any later, I am going to drink my glass of tea, and look how beautiful and clear that looks. So that contains approximately that. The one that's in this glass is actually a little smaller than this one. It's about 1 gram. And so we're going to start the evening with a bang, drinking some mushroom tea. But before I drink it, we're going to add a little bit of flavoring because I don't like ash flavored mushrooms. So cheers, everybody. First equal, I'm gonna need that. Not quite done yet, but I got in there this morning and I plucked 2 nice chunky little mushrooms off the side and started drying them out this morning so that I'd have some mushrooms to take for tonight's live stream. So the rest of the batch, we'll actually look at what's going on at some point. We got a few things I want to get done tonight, so we need to get on that. So without any further ado, let's get on with the feedings. We're not doing anything super serious tonight, but I'm definitely going to get into the gourami tank, and we're going to do a manual siphon, and I'm going to try to get a bunch of that cyanobacteria and the excess Java moss and all that crap out of there. And I might find something else to do. I've been tinkering around in here since I don't feel obligated to wait till I'm doing a YouTube video to actually do tank maintenance over the last couple of weeks. I've been in here actually enjoying my fish room a little more. So it was a nice little vacation. You're all going to laugh when you find out how stupid the thing was that got my camera malfunctioning. Because that's what started it all. The live stream, I lost my camera in the middle of the live stream, and I just could not for the life of me figure out how to get it back on. I was already frustrated. I was already feeling like I needed a break, and that was just the final straw. I spent so much time trying to figure that camera out. I would work on it until I was frustrated, and I'd just walk away. And I'd come back a couple days later when I was ready to cope with it again, and I'd tinker around with it and try to do other stuff. And, I did a factory reset on the computer, and I uninstalled and reinstalled the app, and, just everything I could think of. I went into all the settings and, gave all the camera permissions and made sure everything was connected, and it was just driving me fucking bananas. I could not figure out why I could not get the camera to connect. So last night, I was in here, I got done feeding everybody, and I was just like, what the hell, I'll give it another go. And I got it to where when I was trying to just set up my old camera, and that plugs in manually into the side of the laptop, and I couldn't get it to connect to that, and so I was trying to get that connected, and I wanted to do just this little quick test live stream. So when I went to the YouTube and I clicked on go live, a big black box came up saying I needed to allow permissions for my camera in order to do a live stream, and I'm like, that's what I'm trying to do. So I went back and I went through all the cameras again and I did all the permissions, and I just kept getting this black box on YouTube saying that you got to give your camera permission, to live stream. And so I finally went back into all the camera settings. I brought up the Mevo setting, and when I connected to the Mevo, like it came on, like the light turned red. I saw what the camera was seeing on my screen. I was like, holy shit, it's connected. Like, I don't know what I did, but it's connected. And so while it was connected, I said, I'm going to try to set up a live stream and see if it stays connected. When I went to YouTube and I hit go live, the instant I hit go live, the light went green, which means it's not recording or it's not, filming. And as soon as I did that, not only did the light go green, but that big black box popped up saying you got to give your camera permission. So at that point, I was like, all right, this is a YouTube thing. So I did a quick Google search, and of course, all I had to do was in the upper left-hand corner on YouTube, there's a little drop-down bar. You click on that, you click on camera settings or camera permissions, and then you just click allow. And as soon as I did that, the thing turned red. I ran a live stream. It worked. Everything was back to normal. Like, that was it. All I had to do was open a damn drop bar and click allow on the YouTube page. If I'd have known what to do at the time, when I lost my camera on, Friday night a few weeks ago, when I just vanished, if I didn't know what to do, I could have been back on camera in under 5 seconds. I literally could have hit a drop down bar, clicked allow, and I'd have been back. And God, it took me 2 weeks to figure that out. I am a tech wizard. But I figured it out, and that's the important thing. And I figured it out on my own this time, which really surprises me. Normally, I got to Google stuff and look it up. And in this case, I actually just sort of pieced it together and figured it out for myself. And so I'm proud of myself. I am Dandalf, tech wizard. All right, let me get caught up, and then we'll move on to the next tank. Like I say, we got some stuff I want to get done tonight. All right, Quaz, how are you doing this evening? Neil, I'm not sure if I said hi to you already, but I will again just in case. All right, Mike, the other Mike, how are you? Vonk, hello, how are you this evening? Yeah, I decided I was growing my hair out. I'll get to that in a minute. Hey, Cornish. Yeah, I was standing too close to Steve, and some of his hair migrated. once it gets attached, it's like a symbiote. You can't get rid of it. Oh yeah, they go up in that tower all the time. In fact, that tower, you can see how green it is. I never really thought about it, but it's kind of problematic with how much light it gets. It's like I'm going to have to take that down and clear all the algae out of it from time to time because it's gross. Yeah, Steve gave it the old college try. Salient, how are you? His hair is like venom. Um, Are you asking Vonk if the other fish could have eaten the tail? It's possible, depending on what fish are in the tank, but it sounds more likely that it was some kind of bacterial infection or possibly a fungal infection or something like that, because that'll just slowly sort of rot away a tail fin. It'll just eventually get all the way down to the nub. Now, if there's not too much damage, it'll grow back. But think about like your fingernail. If the damage gets all the way down into the cuticle or the nail bed, that damage will prevent it from growing back. So if a fish's tail fin or any of its fins get damaged too close to the base, they won't grow back. They won't be able to replace that. But if it's just some minor stuff on the ends and only about half of it's missing, then it may grow back if it gets left alone. But that sounds to me more likely that it's a disease oriented. Yeah, that sounds. If it's only one of them, if there was like fish that were in there that were nippy or something, it's possible that some of the other fish might get nipped on as well. So that to me sounds like there was some sort of infection or something. Um, might not hurt to dose the tank with some malachite green. Oh, thank you for the stop sign there. I just saw that pop up on the screen. All right, what are we going to put in there? We're going to put goldfish food in here tonight. And you can see I got nice clean water. I actually just did tank maintenance in this tank this afternoon, and I did the full kit. I put 3 new filters on the hang on the backs, and I actually took the sponge filter out into the other room, and I scrubbed all that out and rinsed it out until I was still getting a little bit of, soil in the water when I would wring the sponge out, but it was almost just clear water coming out of it by the time I was done wringing it out. So I'm pretty confident I got the sponge filter on there thoroughly cleaned up. The amount of water that was bubbling out of it before the water change and everything was minimal. It was barely gurgling at the top. Gurgling? All right, just making new word. Gurgling is now officially a word. So the water was barely gurgling at the top. And then after the water change, of course, it's making the stream flow across the surface of the tank. So it definitely needed a cleaning seriously. I also did a water change on the shrimp tank today, and I used the hose to vac out as many shrimp as I could. And I didn't count them, but it was probably a solid dozen or more. It was a good chunk of shrimp. And I dumped them into the discus tank. The discus tank has a surprising number of shrimp currently alive in it. I put a bunch of shrimp in there a while ago, and I'm surprised at how many are still alive, considering the population that's in that tank between the rainbow fish and all those discus and the whatnot. It's just amazing any shrimp are still in there, but there's a lot of them in there. And tonight I put at least a dozen more, and I know I backed out a few that were brightly colored, either the yellow with the blue stripe down the back or the bright yellow or orange. I got several that were small and still kind of clear, but I don't care about the color. I just want them in there for breeding purposes. There's plenty of them in there so that they can keep making more. It's like automatic free shrimp. All you can eat buffet. Let's see. I am going to need to go to the bathroom here in a few minutes. That's what I was about to do because I had a couple minutes before I was ready to go live. And I'm like, all right, go to the bathroom, make sure you got all your stuff. And when I reached past my laptop, my hand brushed the touchpad and the mouse or the cursor was sitting on the go live button because, of course, it was. And I brushed it with my hand. And all of a sudden, like my screen says I'm going live. I'm like, God damn it. So you'll have to give me a minute here. Yeah, tank stands from Team Who definitely sounds like the beginning of a horror story. Or it sounds like the beginning of one of those stories where you're telling somebody about a lesson you learned. Oh, I love our new washing machine. I'll take the duckweed, but I don't want the fish, Sally, and I don't know what to do with any more fish. You just have to use your imagination, Mike. Yeah, well, sometimes being really, really cheap is not necessarily a good thing. Sometimes you really do get what you pay for. All right. You can give me a stop sign there, and I am going to put you in mute for just a moment. Um, are we good on audio? Do people hear me? All right, I'm going to show you this too. Since I was in the bathroom, I grabbed this because this is where this lives. And this is my mushroom bag. I don't want to pick the bag up and bring it in because the mushrooms are actually mushrooming. And when I lift the bag up, it like squeezes them. They're all growing up along the sides. But I did actually open it up today, and by opening it up, I put slits down all four corners of the bag, and then you just peel the bag back like a banana, and it gives you access to all of the mushrooms, and you can get to the sides of the bag and everything. So that's what it looks like right now. So not quite there yet. I've got a few that are just starting to open up, and you can see by the one, this is one of the more developed ones. You can see that one actually had already started to open. But this is my first flush out of this bag, and I got a shit ton of mushrooms in there, but they're all really small. I don't know if you can really get an eye for how many are in there, but there is a lot of little mushrooms in there. So another day or two, I'll be harvesting them, and then we'll put the bag back, and we'll start the second flush. All right, let's also move on to the next tank, so we got time to get some work done while we're in here tonight. And these are the golden teachers. I did inoculate my other bag with the Jedi Mindfuck spores, but I'm doing an experiment. It's a really small mushroom bag. It's only a little 3-pound bag instead of a big 5-pound. And honestly, it doesn't even look like it's 3 pounds. It looks like a tiniest little bag. All right, somebody's texting me or something. All right. I thought my microphone was on. All right, do we have audio? Do we have audio? Can you guys hear me? Okay, thank you, Dave. Yeah, got a message from somebody asking me if my microphone was on. Maybe they tuned in while I had you muted while I was in the other room or something, and by the time the email got sent through, I don't know. But I had said when I turned you back on, you got to double click to mute or double click to unmute, and I didn't do the click fast enough, so it seemed like one click, and then I did two more, And so I was wondering if maybe it registered as 3 clicks and that turns it, I set it to like record mode or something. I have no idea. This camera microphone does all kinds of shit, but I have no idea what it does, but I don't need it to, so it doesn't matter to me. But I was wondering for a minute there if I didn't turn you guys off or something. All right. So we've got audio then. Good. All right. So the other bag I inoculated, as I was saying, with the Jedi Mindfuck, which is the new strain of mushrooms that I've got, and I haven't actually grown any of those yet. But the instructions led me to believe that the spores are evenly dispersed throughout the entire syringe, because it just looks like clear liquid. There's no obvious place where like the spores are. And it's sold under the idea that it's for scientific research. And so it told you how to prepare a slide to view the spores, and it said to place a single drop on, from the syringe onto the glass plate, and then put your cover plate over it. So I'm thinking if I can do a single drop on the glass plate, and there will be spores and for me to look at in that drop. In theory, I only need to put a single drop in that bag, and as long as there's a spore in it, it should start, doing its thing. And so I only put a little tiny bit of the syringe into the bag. I squeezed it enough that I know the liquid went through, the needle itself, and some went into the bag. I don't know exactly how much, but it was a very small amount. And it's been about a week now, and I don't see any growth yet. But I'm going to give it another week and see if I don't get growth. If I don't, I can add more. But if it works, then maybe it'll take a week longer to get started. But so what? It'll take a week longer. If I can get 8 bags out of one syringe, I'll definitely do that. There's no need to squirt half the damn syringe in there if I only need a drop. But I got to find out if I only need a drop. Let's see. Nice. Foot shrooms are always the best. Kendra, how are you? Thank you. Jamie. Well, thank Jamie for me then, Kendra. I appreciate it. We got a new washing machine. And I love this washing machine. For one, it's got a direct drive, and so when it's doing it back and forth, it's so quiet. Like all you hear is like an electric motor whirling back and forth. The spin mode is super duper quiet. It's really big. It's got a 5.5 cubic foot capacity. It's got a clear lid. Well, it's smoky, but it is glass, so I can actually stand there and look in and watch the wash. I know that sounds stupid, but I will often get lost and I'll get mesmerized by watching my wash go around. And it's just awesome. It plays little tunes when it's finished. The only thing that I think is stupid about it is it's got an AI mode, and that's just dumb. It's just dumb. It's got its regular, light, heavy duty, delicates and all that, like a normal washing machine. But then it's got AI mode. If you want the washing machine to figure out, exactly what. Apparently, it checks the softness of the clothing, and it checks the amount of soil that's on the clothing somehow. And then it decides exactly how to wash it to best optimize cleaning while minimizing damage to your lawn. Oh, Jesus Christ, just put it in there and wash your clothes. Who the hell needs to go through all that dumb shit to think they're doing like some magic, like, ooh, I'm doing the special AI wash, so it's better than just putting it on the regular cycle and hitting run. So I don't bother with any of that dumb AI bullshit or whatever. But the washing machine itself is just awesome. I love it, and the quietness of it is amazing. I love it. Janice, my microphone is off. No, Neil, it does not. The That's the one thing. Like, it's got the app, and my wife can change like the tune that it plays when it's finished, and she can set up the cycle that she wants it to do and everything. But you still have to come down the basement and press the start button. Which, again, to me, I don't know why you would not do that anyway. Like, you have to be there to physically put your clothes in the thing. You can't do that for your app. So while you're standing there, just hit the start button. But I guess if you wanted to load your laundry up and then go to work, and then at noon, I would also think there's a way you could set a timer up or something. I don't know. But the app seems kind of pointless to me because you still have to come down and hit the start button. And when it's over, it doesn't give you an alert. My wife said she would double check and she'd look and see if there was a way to make it alert you. Because that's the only point I can see of it. If you've got the app, that is cool because the chime, we have it set up, it plays a little Beethoven song. But unless you're standing next to it, you can't hear it. Our last one sounded like the mothership landing. You could hear when you're out in the backyard. This one just does a nice little, dainty little chimey chime and then it's done. So unless you're really paying attention, you won't even notice it, even if you're down here with it. And so having your phone give you an alert saying your cycle's done makes sense. But no, it doesn't do that. So you're hearing the microphone. So you're hearing the microphone on my laptop. You're not actually hearing my microphone. Microphone. Can you hear this? Me flicking it? Interesting. I wonder why you're hearing. So, still haven't got this completely figured out. You should be hearing it. No, you didn't hear me like flicking the microphone. All right, then that's definitely an issue. I don't know why we're not getting. Um, hmm. Look at this again. It's definitely sending a signal. I'm getting the signal on the receiver. It's plugged in. I wonder if I have to disable the microphone because I know to get the camera to work, I have to disable the microphone on the. I have to disable the camera on the laptop to get it to use the Mevo. So I probably also have to. I probably also have to disable the microphone on the laptop, and then. But see, I have my microphone is plugged into my Mevo, and so whatever is going from the Mevo, like you should be getting audio and video from the Mevo, and that would be my microphone that I'm wearing. So why you're only hearing it off the laptop, I don't know. But I will tell you that I am not going to start messing with turning things on and off and trying to get shit to connect and whatnot while I'm in the middle of a live stream because that's a sure way for me to accidentally end my live stream. So we'll just deal with this tonight. I'll just talk loudly, and I'll just point my face at the laptop. And once I sit down, you'll be able to hear me fine because I'll just talk towards the laptop anyway. So, all right, give me a second. I got to walk away. I guess at this point, I can go ahead and take my microphone off because if you're not hearing me through it anyway, what's the point in wearing it? All right, you can all still hear me? Well, the mic I'm talking through right now sounds fine as long as I'm standing right here facing my laptop and talking to my laptop. If I want to walk around the room and talk, then I have to have a microphone on, especially if I want to walk out of the room and continue talking to you, which I do frequently. I can't do that when I've got the stationary microphone. So we'll have to get it sorted out. But again, we're not going to worry about it tonight. I'll just have to talk at my laptop while we're doing the live stream. So I am in the habit of walking around while I talk, and so I do walk out of the room and go in the other room and stuff quite often. So if I do wander away and you hear me fade into the distance, don't hear what I'm saying. Like, I guess we're just gonna have to deal with that tonight. No, the new angelfish I got unfortunately did not even make it through the night. In fact, honestly, by the time that video posted, he was already dead. I just didn't realize it. I didn't find him dead until later that afternoon. But he was in the exact same spot that he was when I turned the lights on in the morning, which leads me to believe he was already dead when I turned the lights off, or came down and turned the lights on in the morning. I think he was already dead, but all I did was turn the lights on. I saw him in there, and I walked out. I didn't, look at him or anything. And so I just assumed he was down in the bottom of the tank, just kind of hanging out near the bottom. And when I came in later that afternoon to feed, he was in the exact same position, except now he had a snail on his side and he had a shrimp on him. And okay, that's not a good sign. Angelfish seldom let snails, start feeding off their side. And so I looked at him, and of course he was dead. So I don't know. I thought it was a young fish because it was really small, but I found out later that it was at least minimum of 5 years old. The guy I got it from, his father's getting older and getting rid of his fish and stuff. And so I was basically doing it just because the fish needed a home. And so I still feel bad about it. But I'm not, I don't know what it is. The only thing I can make of it was when he met me, he told me he was coming from a place called Tawny Town, and that's not far away from here. And their water is similar enough that I just didn't think about it. I just assumed it was water that was very close to mine. I later found out that his dad actually lives in Baltimore City and or at least is on Baltimore City water. And so I have no idea how hard their water is or what, I don't know the water chemistry of Baltimore City water at all. So it's possible that I just put it in the tank without really acclimating it to the different water. I generally don't have a problem with that. I think people overrate how much you need to let the fish, acclimate and all that bullshit. So it's possible that was the issue. Other than that, it's just one of those mysterious. He was alive yesterday and he's not now. It happens a lot in the fish keeping hobby. It kind of annoys me when sometimes fish just die. No, fish don't just die. There's a reason. Something caused their death. So they didn't just decide to stop living. But what that is we'll probably never know. Monk, welcome to basic membership. Let's see. Get caught up with some comments here. What can you do against bearded algae? Get shrimp. Yeah, I definitely got to talk to the laptop, not the hand. Let's see. Yeah, Road, and I've got the. God, what the heck's the name of that? I never remember the name of it. Something honey or whatever. I can't think of the name of the damn microphone system I've got right now, but it's the other one. It's Holly something. I want to say hollyhock, but that's a flower. It's Hollyland. That's what it is. It's a Hollyland mic. So those are the two that are the big popular ones amongst streamers and bloggers and YouTubers and stuff. Is either the Rhodes or the Hollylands, and I opted for the Hollyland. I don't even remember the reason I got it when I originally bought it, but it was down between those two. Probably the price, honestly. I think the Rhodes are a little more expensive. Probably get what you pay for. Although I've never really had any problem with these mics. It's got something. The reason I'm not on my mic now, and I'm already forgetting, I don't know how well you can hear me or not, but the reason I'm not on my mic now is because of switching issues. I got to like disconnect something or whatever to get my proper mic working again. Just standing here starting to wonder why I was feeling weird. I'm like, man, I feel funny. I wonder why I feel funny. Yeah, I definitely move around a lot on my live streams, behind the scenes. All right, welcome aboard, Vunk. Let's see. Bob, thank you. All right, I am all caught up. All right, we are moving right along. Man, I can't believe I'm already feeling those mushrooms kicking in. I hadn't even been like half an hour since I drank them. Well, I guess that's about right. It usually starts about half an hour, and it's been about 30 minutes since I drank it. So over the next half an hour or so, thank you, Laura. Over the next half an hour or so, as they roll on to me, we'll see how much it's going to be. Because you never know with mushrooms. Even in the same flush, any given mushroom can have more or less psilocybin than the one next to it. So you never really know how much you're getting. And I have figured out that when they're really small, they have a lot more concentration of psilocybin in them. So you can't just say, well, that was a little mushroom and you only did 1 gram. It was a little mushroom, but that's got a lot of psilocybin in it for its size. So we'll see how much I actually wound up taking. If this is the onset so far, it's coming on pretty strong. So this might be a pretty good roll tonight off of 1 gram. Now, don't get me wrong. The smaller mushrooms don't have more psilocybin in them than the larger mushrooms. It's just more concentrated. So a great big mushroom that's, the size of your hand is obviously going to have more psilocybin in it than a little one the size of your pinky. But the one in your the size of your pinky just has more psilocybin per gram than the larger one does. It's just more concentrated when the mushroom's smaller, and as it gets bigger, it spreads out through the system a little more. Salient, thank you. Yeah, I've never known whether that was true or not, though, about the baby rattlesnakes. I've always heard that the baby snakes, any kind of venomous snake, whether it's a rattlesnake or viper or whatever, any of those, like the babies, have highly, highly potent venom because they have so little of it. It's got to be really potent in order to defend themselves or whatever. But I don't know if that's necessarily true because their venom's not really for defense. It's for killing stuff. And when you're really small, you're only going to kill crickets and little things like that. And so I wouldn't think they need really super potent venom. So maybe that's a myth. I'll have to look that up. Oh, I wonder if I can go to Google. Well, I appreciate it, Salient. I guess coming from a fellow YouTuber, you know that just standing here doing a live stream is actually a lot more work than than people think it is. I had somebody complaining the other day. They were telling me about the shooting videos and like how much work it was just to shoot a little quick video of some fish swimming around in their tank and post it. And he was complaining like, man, people just don't understand, how much time this takes and how much work's involved in it. And I was like, I know, brother, you're preaching to the choir. I said, you'll try live streaming. You think just grabbing a camera and shooting video when you feel like it, I'm on a schedule, so whether I'm in the mood to do it or not, here I am doing it. You know, when you're just shooting video, you can do that whenever you feel like it. So there's a lot of differences between live streaming and just shooting videos. But he was complaining about the videos, so I do appreciate it, Salient. Oh, they don't have venom dose control. I got you. That makes more sense. They just dump their load when they bite you. I got you. That makes more sense. Because I know an adult snake can give you a dry bite where they don't inject any venom at all. They're just biting you to warn you. That's not uncommon. The link to the Discord, Jimmet. It is true. The legend has returned. The link to the Discord should be in the members area somewhere, but sometimes people have trouble getting on using the link. And so if you are having problems, you can contact me or somebody and we'll get you in there. Yeah, I got you. That makes more sense with the snake bite. That's why it's so dangerous. Yeah, the little mushrooms are definitely surprise you if you don't understand the potency thing there. So about a gram and a half of adult size mushrooms is about my limit for doing a live stream. Honestly, it's about my limit for enjoyment. Any more than that, and I'm starting to get into that, you know, I'm gonna start seeing trails here pretty. Like, I don't necessarily want to have that experience with the mushrooms, but taking a gram to a gram and a half, it's just a blast. It's a nice place to be. And so I went with the gram today, figuring even if it is a little potent, it's still only going to be a gram, you know. Janice, you're back. Yeah, I'm talking to the walls again. I'm used to having a microphone on. Oh, the link doesn't work. Okay, somebody can, if you got the time, if somebody wants to go over and like copy and paste a new link onto the, leave a comment or something on the members area with the link in it, I would appreciate that. That would be awesome. Sally, yeah, I learned never to fry bacon naked when I was a young man, and unfortunately, I learned it the hard way. All right, let's move on to the tank we're actually going to be working on here in a minute. And I don't honestly know if we're going to be working on it at this point because even like moving around is starting to feel weird. So that was definitely a solid dose of mushroom. I can say that. And again, we're just getting started. I got another half an hour or so of it rolling on to me. All right, if you notice, everything in this tank is covered in a sheet carpet coating of green slime. That is, of course, my beloved cyanobacteria that this tank is constantly infested with. And so tonight we're going to go in there and try to remove some of it. But I want to get all the feeding and stuff done first, and then we'll see how I feel when we get back around to doing this. I was wise to get some work done earlier. Yeah, it started rolling on to me within about probably less than 30 minutes because I was feeling kind of funny for a few minutes before I started making the mental connection of like, I feel funny. Like, why do I feel so weird? And then I realized, like, oh, right, I drank mushroom tea. And when I looked at the clock at that point, it had been exactly 30 minutes since I drank it. So, yeah, we're about 35, almost 40 minutes into it now. All right. Did somebody get the link sorted out for you there, Vonk? Did Janice get the link sorted out for you there? I did get into this tank before the live stream tonight, and I got the glass wiped down. I figured if we were going to be in there doing some maintenance work, I should at least uh, you know, let you be able to see in there when I was doing it. I don't know what to do with that big mass of floating anubias that you can kind of notice there. If you look real hard, you'll spot it up at the top corner of the tank. It's really, really covered with cyanobacteria, but it's also a really nice big piece of anubias. And so I don't know whether I want to just chuck it and be done with all that cyanobacteria, or if I want to try to put it in a container and see if I can get it cleaned up and get the cyanobacteria off of it. Not really sure what I want to do with that yet. I've given up on trying to attach it to that piece of wood anymore at this point. I just let it float there. Yeah, I think I am going to do a dose of ChemiClean after we do our maintenance tonight. Crush that like button. All right, I should take a couple of weeks off more often. Did me a hell of a lot of good mentally, and I got the biggest crowd I've had in weeks, especially since my crowd for the last couple of weeks has been zero. All right, let's move on. We're going to see enough of this tank when we get back to working on it. So let's just check out my angelfish for a minute. If you look on the bottom, you'll see that I've got some loaches in there. They'll make an appearance here shortly. But the main fish that's in this tank is the angelfish, and then there's one last red-blue Colombian tetra swimming around in there. I'm just kind of waiting for that one to die off, and when it dies off, we'll go ahead and put a school of some lemon tetras in there, maybe some black phantoms, or who knows. We'll have some room to put something in there. It's a 29, so it's big enough that it could have a decent sized school of something like that. A few minutes ago, Zini, you said something about that's a very strange saying. What saying was strange? Was it something I said? Or was it a comment I missed? Oh, was it in regards to the never fry bacon naked? Yeah, frying the bacon, right? Now, I've heard that expression for years. Yeah, anybody that is using ChemiClean, honestly, I recommend doing this with any kind of medication you're going to use at all. But especially if it's the kind of medication that's used superficially, the stuff that's like antifungal or antibacterial, like if you're putting Maricin or something like that in your tank. A lot of these medications work by oxidizing whatever it is they're there to kill. The ChemiClean, for example, oxidizes the cyanobacteria and some of the other stuff that grows in the tank. It doesn't harm your cycle, but it does kill other, not just cyanobacteria, like all that grunge that builds up and the black stuff you get growing on your rocks and whatever. The ChemiClean kills all that stuff and it just cleans your tank up. But it does it by oxidizing that stuff. And in the process of oxidation, it's getting the oxygen from the water. And so when it says on those labels, to add an air stone to your tank when you're using this product, take that very seriously. You will kill your fish if you don't have an air stone in your tank, because the medicine will just suck the oxygen out of the water. I've done it. I did it one time. The only time I've ever not used an air stone with ChemiClean, I had fish dead the next day, and it wasn't the fish I was treating. It was just other fish that were dead. And even in that tank, I had a power head for circulation, and the water level was like really down. So there was about a 3-inch drop in the water from the hang on the back filter. It was like a little waterfall. And of course, it was pulling water in with it, and the bubbles were coming back up. And I took that to be it's fine, And I went ahead and did, the ChemiClean with no air stone, and I had dead fish the next morning. I've used ChemiClean a zillion times over the years, and the other stuff too, the Ultralife. I've used the Ultralife stuff too, and I've never had a problem with it. The only time I had a problem with it was the one time I did not use an air stone. So that's been my experience with it. I use the air stone. Hey, Michael, how are you doing? The new angelfish, unfortunately, did not make it. It didn't even make it through the night. It died by the next morning. It was already gone. Sally Ann, thank you again. You were showering me with gifts tonight. Oh, let's see. 4 fish in one night. Wow. All right, let's keep moving because I do still want to get that work done. And my brain's getting more and more distracted as the moments pass. So we're going to skip the 40 because there's not a whole lot in there worth even looking at anyway. I guess I should have taken 2 minutes to wipe this tank down too. It's looking a little green. All right, let's see if I got another. That was an email from Vonk about the Discord link. Let me open that up real quick. I might be able to find the Discord link and copy it and send it back to you. All right, let me see if I can get to the share link. And I keep forgetting I'm just kind of half talking to myself. I'm used to having a microphone right next to my face. Oh, I know there's a way I can just do a. Share this with somebody and it'll give me a damn link. There's the link. Copy the link. Thank you, Ark. I appreciate that. Now we'll go back to my Gmail. I can't find my Gmail. Gotta have a Gmail here somewhere because it's freaking Gmail. All right. I'm getting there, everybody. Hang on. All right, Vonk. Theoretically, I just sent you a link to the Discord. So hopefully, if you check your email, you'll get a link to the Discord there. Let me see. Let me make sure I'm not missing anybody. All right, I am caught up once again. The black skirt tetra I've not actually checked on, but it would be in this tank. Yeah, I just saw it swim by in the back there, so it's still doing okay. The black skirt tetra and the rummy nose tetra I put in this tank, assuming, I mean, you can see the school we got swimming in there now, and that is a mix. You can just see the rummy nose by himself, the one with the bright red face. But that's Rasporas and Tetras in there, and they're all just sort of schooling together. And so I figured the rummy nose would go well in this tank because it would be just by itself if I put it anywhere else. And so I figured it would just blend right in with that school, and it did. So those 2 fish survived. It was just the angelfish that didn't make it. Frozen plankton. I bet they did like that. Oh, thank you, Janice. Thank you, Dade. And good to hear it, Bonk. No, Mike, I don't really have any room for any more fish, but I appreciate the offer, or at least your interest in me. All right, let's move on. We'll get the next tank fed real quick, and then we will get to working on that other tank. And again, I think it's going to be a little bit interesting. And you'll have to work with me on the audio. Again, the microphone is on my laptop here, so when I walk away from the laptop, you can't really hear me as much. And so, unfortunately, we're going to have to just deal with that tonight. I'll try to get that sorted out by Sunday. Yeah, if you've got some other place to get rid of them, then by all means, please do. Don't hold them on my account. I don't have any room for any new fish really. Even that angelfish, I could fit an angelfish in the discus tank, but I wasn't particularly wanting an angelfish in there at the moment. And so, in that case, it was, like I said, somebody was getting old and getting rid of their fish. And, I felt obligated to help out if I could. And since I could, I was willing to. But I'm not actually actively looking for any new fish at the moment. All right, that is the Vibra Bites going in there for nummy nums. It's amazing how active that fish tank looks during feeding, and then when I'm sitting in front of it and all the fish go into hiding, I've literally had people ask me if there was any fish in it before. The betta fish is fairly new. I've had it for a few months now. And no, Sally, and I didn't know you got a 375 custom acrylic. That sounds sweet. Individually. Nice. That's going to be a lot of waste plastic for the 1,000 shrimp or 10,000 shrimp. Holy shit. Fortunately, the Walmart allows us to take our soft plastics up there and drop them off for recycling, so that'd be all right. Yeah, them sea turtles love them grocery bags. They look exactly like jellyfish, which is their only source of food. All right, thank you again, Sally. I appreciate it. All right, let's get this tank done before I get any more mushroomed. I'm trying to hang in there, Salient. I have my moments. I do want to get another angelfish for this tank, but it is going to be sometime in the future. I'm kind of waiting for the rainbow fish to die off at this tank, although I'm beginning to think it's a futile effort. I'm probably going to die off before those damn rainbows do it the way we're going. But I would like to add an angelfish to this tank, but it'll be something special. I'm not just going to pick any old random angelfish out of a tank and stick it in here. Although I always argue, I am a huge fan of angelfish, and I do argue that they don't make, unattractive angelfish, but there's attractive angelfish, and then there's wowzer stunners, there's some amazing angelfish out there. And so that's what I'm going to shoot for going in this tank, is something amazing. All right, let's get the camera in position here. And even when I'm standing right in front of the microphone, I'm looking at the little microphone bar. I wonder if I switch that off. Or I wonder if I can switch that off. All right, here we go, everybody. This is probably about to be the end of the live stream. I'm going to start clicking buttons and see what happens. That just mutes it. That doesn't. Yeah, that doesn't turn the microphone on or off. It just mutes it, so that wouldn't accomplish anything. I got to go into my settings or something. I'll do it on the next, over the weekend. I'll fiddle with it. Worst case scenario, at least we're up and running. This isn't ideal. It gets on my nerves having to shout at the fucking laptop constantly. But we're here. It's functioning, so it's better than nothing. Anyway, let me get the camera set up, and we'll get the bucket and the hose and all that kind of stuff, and we'll get started on this. And we will have a project in the fairly near future. I've got the tower that the goldfish swim up into, but Steve gave me a 6-gallon rimless. Now, unfortunately, it is rimless, but to go in to make a fish tower, it has to go in upside down, and suddenly it's no longer a rimless tank. But I do have a 6-gallon tank that we're going to be using to build a fish tower, and that'll be a project we'll do on a live stream one night, maybe this Sunday. I don't know. I have to tinker with exactly how I'm going to set it up. I don't want to be experimenting when we go live. I want to know it works. I'll get a trial run, make sure it works, and then once I know it works, we can, do it on the live stream, and I'll show you how I set it up and everything. So, all right, you're still not getting a great view in there. Oh, there you go. That's a little better. The trick is you got to block out the light from the top, and then you can see into the tank. The sharks are both doing okay. Now, let me run in and get a bucket. I've only got one bucket, dear Liza, and I can tell you a story about why I've only got one bucket because I'm fucking stoked. I made a major score the other day. All right, at least I don't have to hit mute when I go in the bathroom anymore. All right, one bucket, dear Liza. And one hose, and this is not a gravel back hose. This is just an open-ended hose. And so the idea is we're going to go in there because this is open-ended and doesn't have the diffuser on the end like a gravel vac. The whole idea of a gravel vac is that it doesn't suck the water in really fast and suck the gravel out with it. It gives, enough time for the gravel to fall back out and the little debris to go out. Well, I want to suck stuff out with it. And so that's why we're going to use just an open hose, and we're going to remove a bunch of that Java moss in the middle that is actually growing on a big piece of wood. That's just not a Christmas tree of moss. That's actually a wooden frame underneath of there. And we're going to try to get some of those sheets of cyanobacteria off of everything as well. So that's what we're doing. All right, let me go dump this bucket of water and I'll come back and we'll do one more. All right, let's do another one here. Take a couple of puffs of nicotine first. All right, and somewhere around here I've got some ChemiClean already open, but I can't find it, so we're going to open another bottle. I usually buy it like 3 packs at a time because it's cheaper that way, and I wind up using it eventually anyway. So you're supposed to just use this tiny, tiny little scoop that comes with it, but I always just sort of shovel it in there. It doesn't really matter that much. So in theory, I should be putting 5 scoops in for this tank, but again, we're just going to shovel some in there. It'll be fine. That was at least enough for 5 scoops. So let me go get the hose and we'll start it filling back up. All right, I'm back. I forgot I was in the middle of a live stream there for a moment. All right, let me see where it was. Eugene, hello. Let's see. Vonk, if you look around on the Discord, there's they call them shit, I can't even think of what they call them now. But whatever, there's areas or whatever. There's places for your dinner picks, your family picks, your aquarium picks, general picks. You can put whatever you want over there, within reason, of course. Now I'm actually puffing on my banana cream tonight. What a Fox and family. How are you? Next Tuesday. Nice. Happy birthday, Michael. Is that against copper and chloride? I'm not sure what you're asking me, Vonk. The chemiclean that I threw in the tank is for the cyanobacteria. Oh, nice. And when we're done filling this tank up, that'll be it for the night. We'll sit down and chat in front of the camera for the rest of the evening. Yeah, Vonk, this is it just treats the cyanobacteria. And while I do get cyanobacteria that grows in some of my other tanks, it's usually just a little here, a little patch there. I don't even mind the way it looks, honestly. It just looks like part of a normal, natural aquatic environment to me. But this tank, I don't know why. I've never been able to figure it out, but it has been like this since the beginning. And I just the cyanobacteria in this tank just goes out of control. It always does. It doesn't transfer to my other tanks. Like I say, my other tanks are fine. A little here, a little there, no biggie. Whatever the conditions are in this tank, or whatever it is about this tank, the cyanobacteria just goes insane in it. In fact, when I look at if you look closely at the sidewalls, I don't know how well you can see the side from where you're angled. But if you look at the side over there, you'll see how red it looks, but you can see how green it looks. I have both red cyanobacteria and green cyanobacteria in this tank. The red stuff tends to grow on the glass, and then the green stuff just grows on everything else. Cyanobacteria, it's cyano, cyanobacteria. Cyanobacteria is not technically bacteria, and it's not technically a plant. It's cyanobacteria. It's a very primitive life form. It's very similar to bacteria, but it's a colonial animal. Or a colonial organism. It grows in sheets and mats. But it's not exactly bacteria, but very, very similar to it. It's cyanobacteria. It is what it is. Again, I say that meaning it's not like some certain type of bacteria. It's its own thing. It's its own, kind of life. Again, very primitive back in the primordial ooze days, but cyanobacteria was one of the OG primordial oozes. It's been around since the dawn of time. Well, the cyanobacteria, I mean, the chemiclean that I put in there, and give me just a second. I'm going to have to get the water shut off in a second here. The chemiclean won't affect your cycle, but it kills not only the cyanobacteria, but it like you get that biofilm and like the sludge and stuff that starts to grow. It breaks all that down really nicely. Let me go shut this off. Now, to my knowledge, it won't work on something like a bacterial infection or a fungal infection on your fish or something like that. But if you just want to clean your tank up and just get some of the grunge and stuff out of there, you can use ChemiClean and it'll clean all that stuff up. It doesn't have to be for the cyanobacteria, but it also kills both the red and the green or blue green cyanobacteria. All right, we are done. So we can sit down. And I'll just have to remember I got to keep shouting at the laptop. All right, so looks a lot better. I know it ain't done and it didn't get rid of it or, sterilize the tank. And as you can see, Janice, we've already got an air stone just lives in this tank. So I don't have to add an air stone for the ChemiClean. But once again, I cannot remind you enough to have an air stone or put an air stone in if you're using the ChemiClean. Cyanobacteria is not only awful to look at, you should smell it. I don't mind the sight of it. Like I say, if it's not growing in massive clumps and it's not growing in a carpet over everything in the tank, I don't mind a little bit of cyanobacteria. It's just, some bright green. If you look in this tank, I've got cyanobacteria growing in there. All right, let's get some disco ball lights going on. This is a Friday night mushroom party after all. All right, I also brought a joint in for me to smoke, and I've not yet even fired it up. So we'll start working on my joint. So, first of all, the big bushy beard. This is going to get trimmed down here pretty soon. It's getting thick. So, I grow it out in the winter just because it's cold and the beard keeps me warm. And I also decided I was going to grow my hair out a little bit for the winter, also to keep me warm. But also, I wanted to check the progress on my bald spot. So, look at that puppy. Hang on, I got my tablet down here. I can actually see what my head looks like on the tablet. Oh, Jesus, look at the size of that thing. It's almost fully, like, even this stuff up front's almost gone. I've almost got the full horseshoe of bald spot now. So that's the real reason I was growing my hair out. I really wanted to see where my bald spot actually was. Now that I know that, I can go ahead and shave my head again. Let's see. Yeah, you will accumulate fish tanks quickly. Dandalf the gray. Yes, the black skirt tetras do prefer being in groups rather than by themselves. I, on the other hand, am not anxious. I don't want hair growing back. I was laughing. I was telling my mom, I went down to visit my mom yesterday, for the first time in a year and a half since I've seen her. So it was nice to have a visit with me, ma'am. But I heard somebody in a podcast the other day, they were talking about, they were just using the analogy of like if people could just snap their fingers and get what they wanted. And he said something about like, oh, I'm sure if, guys that had thinning hair could just snap their fingers and have a full head of hair again, I'm sure they would. And I was like, no, I wouldn't. Like if I could like make it from here, just gone and just get it over with and be done, that would be awesome. I wouldn't have to shave anymore. I prefer it to the bald head. I actually prefer having the bald head. So currently I have to shave. If I go bald, it'll just make it a lot easier for me. Let's see, the difference between a school of fish. I don't think I have any tetras in my discus tank, Janice. Yeah, the hair does look more appropriate when Phil makes an appearance. So Phil is what Zini calls me when I put my glasses on. It's my alter ego. So this definitely looks more appropriate. I can't see shit over there anymore. These are only magnifiers for seeing up close, so I can't see that screen over there anymore. But this definitely looks more appropriate. Put them down on the end of my nose a little bit. There you go. How's that? Is that a good screen cap for you there, Zini? I know Zini likes to get his screen caps. I was answering the question. I forgot what it was now. The difference between the school of fish and the shoaling fish. I always get this backwards, so let's see if I get it right tonight. A school of fish is a group that is loosely associated with a bunch of different types of fish. It might be different species, but they're all sort of doing their thing together in a group. A shoal of fish is when you see them all. It's the same species. They're all packed together. It's moving as one unit. When one fish moves, they all move. That's a shoal of fish. A school of fish is like what I got going on over here, where the Rasporas and the Tetras are all swimming around together and swimming around in a group. That's a school of fish. I think I got that right. Am I backwards again? Every time I think I've got it right, I always say it the other way because I assume I've got it backwards. All right, well, take what I said and just reverse that. A shoal of fish is a loosely associated group of fish, and a school of fish, maybe I associate school as like, where like public school where everybody goes and does their schooling, versus a shoal, which seems to me like an exclusive kind of thing. It's one species of fish in the shoal. So I got to remember I'll do this again next time I go through it. Wax my head. No, thank you. I'll stick to shaving it. Yeah. Well, that makes it even more confusing, Steve. Good grief. I don't know. I have to figure out a way. Maybe if I start thinking about it as like a private school, I'll just think about school as like private school. If it's a school, it's the individuals and it's the private thing. If it's a shoal, it's every old body. It's public. I tried using a straight razor to cut my hair or shave my head once when I was like 18. I just thought it would be cool, to say that I used a straight razor to shave my head. I probably got a few hairs cut off before the blood was running in my eyes to the point where I decided it was probably a bad idea to continue on with that. I would imagine if you look hard enough, you might still be able to see some scars and stuff up here where I fucking sliced my head open. If you don't know how to handle or shave with a straight razor, don't try shaving with a straight razor unless you know what you're doing with it. And I don't know what to tell you as far as how to get practice with a straight razor shaving, but there's a reason they went away. Um, I guess you can have, it would still be considered a shoal, even if it was individual fish that were the same species. Like you could have a shoal of cories. If you ever see a big group of cories together, they don't move like as a single unit. They're all together, they're all feeding, they're all in the same area, they're moving around as a group, but they're not moving around as a unit. And that's what the school is. It's where they move around as a unit. So a shoal could either be the single species where you've got a group of, say, skirt tetras who all loosely swim around together, but they don't behave like a single unit. Or you can have like this tank that has tetras and rasporas and you know, it's a mixture of fish, but they still, you know, shoal together. They still all swim around. They still all feed together. They just don't move as that single sort of unit where one fish responds to the movements of the fish next to it. That's a different kind of fish. Schooling fish are not the same as shoaling fish. Prune juice is the way to go if you want a loose stool. Yeah, I always refer to myself basically as the peanut gallery. I think of myself as a gestalt being. I'm not just me, I'm a gestalt. And if you don't know what that is, you can look it up. I keep forgetting I don't have a microphone on. I don't know if you can hear me. I'm not projecting properly. All right, let me light this joint. Oh, Steve, if you're still awake, I got that 6-shooter. It's a, hang on a minute. I can't talk while I'm in the other room. This is from the Raw Cone Company, the place I buy my cones. And you can put 6 cones in there. And then you put your weed in, and you're supposed to bang it down, and it fills all your cones for you. But poking it, you know, and packing them individually is better. Gotta say, I'm not a fan of it. I did not like it as much as I thought. And when I had said to you, Steve, that it would be a lot quicker, I didn't mean it in the sense that I'd get 6 joints for one. I meant that it would be quicker in the sense that I would get each individual joint or cone packed up faster. Because the funnel I use a little plastic funnel, and the cone just slips over the end of the funnel, and then I put some weed in it, and then I use a little ramrod, and I pack it down, and that's how I pack my cones up. But the funnel had a little lip on the inside, so when the stick would go in, it would get stuck on the lip. I would have to go like straight down the middle. And I know that sounds silly, but it really was a lot more time consuming getting stuck on that damn lip all the time. And the inside of the funnel was fairly narrow. It was thick plastic. So what I did was I got out my little rotary tool and I ground off the lip, and then I ran the grinder down through the throat and opened it up about half again bigger. And now I can just push the weed right through and it goes right down. And so packing them up individually with my little funnel is actually faster than using that 6 shooter. And I didn't like the quality of the it was just, I don't know. I didn't like that 6 shooter. It didn't really save me any time. My little method that I've sort of established is the faster way of doing it. And I get a better packed joint. Now, I will say what I learned from that 6 shooter was that the joints smoked a lot better because they weren't packed really tight and they just burned and they stayed even and they didn't go out on me all the time. And so now that I'm going, I'm still using my little funnel. I used to pack it in there like it was a muzzle loader and I was using a fucking ramrod. I was packing the weed in there. I don't do it like that anymore. I press it in until it's like firmly in there and then I just add more. I'm not ramming it down into the paper anymore. And they don't go out on me anymore. They burn smoothly. And so I was, the problems I was having with that was due to me overpacking it. So I learned, I learned a lesson from that 6 shooter on how to pack the cones better, but I'm not a big fan of the actual 6 shooter thing itself. Almost went out on me. Let's see. All right. Okay, good. I'm glad you can hear me. Even when I was standing right in front of it, the little bar for the audio is only moving up to like the second bar, but I can see it's registering my voice clear enough. It's weird. I'm all the way back here and I'm getting the same amount of movement on the bar as I was when I was right in front of it. Do I still get algae in all my tanks? Yeah, most of them. All right, Dave, I'll catch you on Sunday. All right. Well, I don't like the pre-roll because I don't like the weed I get from the stores. And I just, I can roll a joint by hand. I'm not great at it, but I can do it. It's just a pain in the ass. Like it doesn't smoke any better than a cone. The cone actually gives me a little paper filter that I can, I don't get weed in my mouth. It gives me something to hold on to so I don't have to worry about that, holding the roach or getting the roach clip out and all that kind of stuff. I just think the cones are more convenient and I can probably pack up. If we start with pre-ground weed, because you got to grind the weed before you roll a joint anyway. So if we start with pre-ground weed, I could probably pack up 6 cones in the time it would take me to roll a single joint. And you guys may be able to roll faster than that, but I'm meticulous about it. And I'm, folding the paper and crinkly and like it, there's effort involved. You don't just, it ain't like the cartoons where you just like roll it up and lick it and you're done. But with the cones, you just ram it in there, and when it's done, you twist the end closed, and you're done. It's really easy, and they're super convenient to smoke, and it's my weed. I'm not buying it from the store, so I'm not getting the store bought stuff. So that's why I like the cones. I got a rolling machine, and I got papers and all that stuff. The cones are easier for me. Red. Oh, I don't know. I don't think you could roll one joint in the time it takes me to pack up a cone. Yeah, well, we got weirder, dumber laws than that, Donk. Every state is different, but here in Maryland, I'm allowed to smoke it recreationally. We have the medicinal stuff, and we do have different rules for what's considered medicinal versus recreational. It's all stupid. Um, but we also are allowed to grow a certain amount ourselves. I can't grow a lot, but for personal use, I can grow plenty for my own personal use. As long as I'm not selling it to anybody, I'm good to go. That seems like an interesting way of doing it, Steve. I have already decided that when I have, I'm still getting caught up on how much weed I've got, and I can't afford to be like wasting it on making hash and experimenting with it and stuff. But when I do have a little excess, I'm going to shake it down. I'm going to get some dry sift hash, and when I pack my cones up and I put the weed in the funnel, I'm going to sprinkle some hash in the funnel with it, and then when I pack the cone, it'll have just hash mixed in with the weed. Basically blended all the way through the whole thing. So it'll be a nice, it'll be a nice hashy cone. I'm looking forward to that. You can grow up to 12 plants. Wow. I'm only legally allowed 2 at any given time, and that's, one can be a little seedling and the other one can be 12 feet tall, or I can have 2 of them that are 12 feet tall. Doesn't matter. I can only have 2 plants at any given time. I've never worried too much about that because I've been growing it for myself for the last 20 years, long before it was legal, and I never had any problems doing it when it was completely illegal. So now the only thing, if I were to get in trouble, it's the difference between I've got, I'm allowed to do it. I just have more plants than you're supposed to have. Back in the day, like you weren't allowed to grow it or have it or look at it or think about it or know somebody that smoked it. Like back then, there was risk involved. If you got caught growing weed back in the day, they'd take your fucking house from you. Nowadays, I got 3 plants instead of 2. What are they going to do about that? Like anybody's going to give a fuck. So I'm no longer worried about that. I wonder if you'd need a lot of weed to get a bear high. My assumption is you wouldn't because it's dealing with the brain. Somebody had asked me that once about like how if you're a really big person and alcohol doesn't affect you as somebody that weighs 90 pounds because it's your body weight that is making the difference. I don't think that's the case with weed. I don't think a great big dude smoking weed is going to have a different experience than a 90-pound person. I think it's just got to do with your brain, and functionally our brains are all basically the same size. We have the same number of neurons and all that kind of stuff. Doesn't matter if the physical size of it. It's not like a larger brain. It's more neurons. Those neurons are just spread out more. It's got the same amount of neurons as anybody's brain. So I wouldn't imagine that would make a difference when it comes to THC. So I don't know if that would work on a bear or not, though. I'm sure that would get them high. There's no doubt that they've got, cannabinoid receptors. I'm sure a bear would get high. I just don't know if you'd need a huge dose or not. I never saw a shoot your family commercial. I saw a lot of stupid drug commercials that stick in the brain, but I don't remember a shoot your family one. Yeah, Reefer Madness. That was But I never saw Reefer Madness as anything other than a silly joke. When, even by the time I was a kid watching it in the '80s, it was already ridiculous. Even my parents thought Reefer Madness was stupid, and they really did warn me about jumping out a window because I could think I could fly. If I smoked pot, I'd think I could fly, and I got all that shit. I'd walk out into the street, and I wouldn't know what I was doing, and even they thought Reefer Madness was stupid. Yeah, I remember the kid melting into the couch. I remember I learned it from you, Dad. I learned it from you. that that one's burned into I think everybody's brain collectively. And then of course the this is your brain on drugs, and they crack the egg into the pan. That's a classic one. And the one that actually had the most impact on me, and they probably did this because they're smart, was the one. Have you ever seen the one where the girl's like she's a teenage girl and she's sitting there and she's all stoned and she's got this dog that's just sitting there staring at her. And then the dog starts talking to her, like saying how much I like you better when you're not high, etc. That one always struck me. First of all, I'm thinking you're a dog. Shut the fuck up. Why are you judging me? You're a dog. You eat cat crap and you're going to judge me. But it also, there's that emotional impact of like, oh, poor dog, like misses, the way his owner used to be or whatever. But then I go right back to the like, fuck that dog. He's just a dog. If there was a cat in that video, that'd have been a different commercial. They put a cat in there. All right, everybody. I think I'm going to get up into first positions. I need to be talking at the laptop anyway. And the evening is winding down. I didn't tell you about my big score and why I only have a couple of buckets left. I know this is going to sound dumb to a lot of you, but I'm stoked about it. um, the other day, we went to the Walmart and I got some salt for the water softening system. We have a water softener and we have to put the big bags of salt in it or whatever. So I said, I'll grab 2 extra bags and I'll set them aside so I have something for the driveway. When you buy the stuff that's sort of marketed for the driveway, it's really fucking expensive. And so I used my water softener salt in the driveway. It's kind of big and chunky, so it's not ideal, but it's $8 a bag for 40 pounds. That's way cheaper than you get for the driveway melt stuff. So I bought, first of all, I got the wrong stuff. They didn't have the granules. They only had the pellets. And so I got these big fucking horse pellets, which is fine for my softener, but you can't throw in your driveway. I've tried it before. They don't work. And so I didn't have any salt. On the way home, right in front of my house, the road narrows, like right before you get to my driveway. And the state or the county trucks must have staged there while they were waiting for the storm the other night. They sit there and the salt just pours out while they're sitting there. There's this whole line of salt down the side of the road that's about an inch deep. So I took a flat shovel and a bunch of buckets and went down there, and I filled 3 5-gallon buckets completely to the brim with road salt. So not only is it the right size, pieces, it's got sand mixed in with it for traction. And so we can have the worst winter ever. And my driveway I probably got almost 200 pounds of fucking driveway salt now. I'm stoked. That saved me so much money. And so I put all 4 of the bags into my water softener. So I got to use all my salt, and I still got the driveway covered for probably the next 2 winters. Hell yeah, that's the kind of score I'm talking about. Free road salt. I was going to say, selling me a cabinet. Yeah, I never got weed that was like fake. I never bought oregano or catnip or something like that. But I definitely bought some shitty ass weed when I was young. And a lot of times I bought weed that was like homegrown and it was literally just leaves. You know, it was just the trimmed off big fan, hand sized fan leaves in a bag. And that's what I got as a bag of weed. Technically, it was marijuana. Toasty Ghosty. Oh, thank you. I'm growing it out for the winter. It's not permanent. I am Dandalf. It's definitely a lot thicker and bushier. Even my wife's commenting on it. So I'm keeping it trimmed up. I'm not doing the full neck beard. I'm shaving the neck. I'm shaving, above the thick line, so I don't have all that scraggly bullshit under my eyeballs. I'm trying to keep it looking decent, but it is getting pretty fucking. I'm going to be halfway to Santa Claus. I will be glad when this shit goes away. I'm tired of these fucking black streaks, and I just turn gray. God damn it! Like, why do I have these fucking weird, like pinstripes and patterns on my face, like I'm a skunk? Oh, let's see. Aquarium Boss Canada, how are you? Isn't that adorable? I even saved money drying these out today. The whole flush isn't done yet, but I did go in there this morning because I wanted to be on some mushrooms for tonight's live stream, my triumphant return. And so the two biggest ones that were growing up out of the side, I broke them off. And instead of running them in my dehydrator all day, I actually just set them in front of my space heater, my diesel heater, since that runs all day anyway. And I positioned them right to where they were at the temperature I wanted them. And I kept a very close eye on the temperature. It never got over 105 degrees. And in about 6 hours, they were dry enough to work with. My food dehydrator takes about 15 hours to dry them out. So the next batch I cut down, maybe tomorrow or the next day when the whole thing is ready, I'll cut them down. And I'm just going to set them on a tray in front of my diesel heater and just let the heater dry them out. So we're back, baby. I got mushrooms from now till the foreseeable future. Even just out of that first flush, I'm going to get like 30 grams of mushrooms probably. And considering I only do 1 gram at a time, that's plenty. That'll last me a while. I guess you can smoke duckweed. Um, the most I've eaten since I've started eating them again recently, I think I did like 2.1 grams one night, or maybe 2.3 grams, and it wasn't unpleasant, but it was more than I was looking for. Like, again, I like to be in that nice kind of happy place of about a gram to a gram and a half. And I liken it to the idea, like if you wanted to go out and have dinner and maybe have a few beers and get a nice little buzz on, but you wound up drinking 6 beers and you're kind of drunk now, you know, it's not like it's bad, but that's not really what you wanted. You wanted to just have a nice, pleasant evening with a nice, happy, fun buzz on, and you kind of overdid it a little. That's what 2.1 or 2.3 felt like for me. Still wasn't to where I was seeing trails and tripping, but I was past the point where it was just chill, having a good time. I was definitely spacing out and looking around, and like it's kind of in between. Like I should have either just gone for it and done a little more, or I should have just backed off and done a little less, and I would have been happier in either spot. But that's the most I've done recently. Back in the day, like, when I was younger and a little more brazen, maybe 4 grams, a little more than an eighth, somewhere between an eighth and a quarter, maybe 5 grams would be the most I've ever eaten at once. Um, some pretty intense trips on those higher dosages like that. And as I've said before, the only bad trip I've ever had in my life was on mushrooms. So most people think you can't have a bad trip on mushrooms, but I sure as hell did. Yeah, well, that night, Mike, I didn't drink the whole bottle. I only drank about a quarter of that bottle. The whole bottle would be way too much. I talked about doing a whole bottle on the live stream, but I never actually drank one. I'm glad I didn't. Um, but that was when that mushroom syrup was new to me. And it was just like this new experience, and I was really enjoying it. And that was like a really good live stream. We had a lot of fun. I've kind of gotten used to it now. So I got one of my chocolate bars the other day, and I ate it, and it's all I had, so I ate it. But now that I've got real mushrooms again, like that chocolate bar, just don't cut the mustard anymore. So I'm going to cancel the chocolate bar subscription, and I'm not going to get any more of the syrup. I'll just save my money because it's just the real mushrooms that I got in the other room. Like that's where it's at. Yeah, when I took it, like I just kept, when I first started experiencing, I assumed it was mushroom chocolate or mushroom syrup, and I assumed it was psilocybin was the active ingredient, but it never felt like psilocybin. This feels like psilocybin. I definitely feel like I've eaten real mushrooms tonight because I have. The chocolate bar, and I'm going to get one more order of the syrup just for old time's sake, and then I'm going to cancel it. But it's not the same. It doesn't cut the mustard. If you've got, that's all you can get. It's good stuff. I still recommend it. I liked it and everything, but considering I've got the real stuff, I'm not spending that kind of money to get something that's nice, but still an imitation, I got a weird email yesterday that I think was like a scam. Not necessarily a scam, but like a way that manufacturers will get you to like come back to their website and buy something by telling you like, oh, you just missed out or something. So I've got an email from, and I didn't look at who it was really from at first. I just kind of glanced at it, and it said, your order has been successfully canceled. And I couldn't think of what I'd ordered recently, so I didn't know what had been canceled. And then it said my mushroom order had been canceled, and I had just gotten some mushroom stuff. I got a mushroom bag, and I got a syringe of the spores recently. And I'm thinking, did I accidentally get a subscription? And they're canceled. Like, what am I looking at here? And so I looked more closely at who sent it, and it was the company ie420meds.com. And that's where I used to buy hash, and you can buy weed from them and the cartridges and everything. So all 50 states, if you can't buy weed where you live, go to ie420meds.com. You'll have to send them a photo ID, like a selfie with your license and all that shit to get registered. But you can buy weed, and they'll mail it right to your house, no matter where you live. So I haven't bought from them in like 2 years, and it was from them. And it was saying they'd canceled my order of mushrooms. And when I looked at it, it said Golden Teacher, which is what I ate tonight is Golden Teacher. But it was for a 3.5 gram bag. That's not like growing mushrooms. That's like a bag of mushrooms. And so apparently the IE420 meds now sells bags of mushrooms. And I'm thinking the whole we canceled your order was a way to get me to go to the website and double check. And while I was there, I may as well shit, that is a pretty good price for a bag of mushrooms, and then order it or something. So I just ignored it because I haven't placed an order. And if they said they canceled it, then that's great. They canceled it. That's, and if they didn't, I'm going to get a free bag of mushrooms in the mail. Yay. Save my money, spend it on my bills. I'm like almost $20,000 in credit card debt right now. I'm not spending money on fish, spending it on bills. Finally trying to hunker down and get, if at least not get caught up, at least not get further behind. I'm in that position where I can maintain where it is. And once upon a time, it used to be between like $0 and $500, and I could work that every month. And then I had to get my truck worked on, so $900 went on it. Now it's between 900 and 1400, and just stayed right there. And then I had to get my teeth worked on, and another 2000 went on it. And so I can keep it where it is in that sort of $500 window, but I can't work it backwards. I can't get it to go down. And so right now, again, I've got almost $9,000 in credit card debt, and I got over $9,000 in Amazon debt. So I'm just paying interest at this point. Mushroom equals backpack equals stars. All right. I guess like hiking on mushrooms, walking on mushrooms. I definitely do think that would be awesome. I'm definitely looking forward to springtime and being able to get out and hike in the woods and walk around again. I feel like I've been hunkered down here in my basement waiting for spring for months already, and it's the beginning of January. We got so long to go before I'm going to be out walking around in the woods. Yeah, you can get Amazon credit cards that aren't just for. I'm just talking about my rolling, Amazon account, not an actual Amazon credit card. I don't have one of those. I just have the credit card through my bank. Have to. I could either, use my credit card, or I could not have a truck. I don't have a choice. I gotta get my truck fixed, and I gotta put it on credit. Oh, nice, Shirley. That's awesome. What is it exactly? I've thought about getting a consolidation loan at this point, but I'm not going to get a consolidation loan because I still have to use my credit card and the Amazon, so they'll just start creeping back up. I figure as long as they're both really high, it'll scare me. I'll think twice before using them again. So I'm trying to operate on that logic. That's a lot of socks, but then you do have hairy feet with mushrooms growing on them. Oh, it's going to be a surprise. Nice. All right, we went over my mushrooms. We went over my 6-shooter new packing device. I wanted to talk about that with Steve tonight. We didn't do my music. If anybody wants to guess my music. I have to have a vehicle. I need it for my work. I got customers that are 60 miles away from me. It ain't like I'm throwing my shit in a backpack and walking to my customers' houses. I need my vehicle. Oh, you're still awake, Steve. I was even going to add that now that Steve's probably asleep, it's safe to do the music because Steve already knows what music I was listening to tonight. Um, Steve sent me some slaying guitar heavy metal versions of some classical music, and so after listening to those, I decided I would actually listen to the real thing, and so I was listening to some classical music tonight. I started with what did we start with? Toccata and Fugue in D minor. I listened to that, and then I listened to Vivaldi's Four Seasons, which I'm telling you, just it's got its moments where it's very soft and peaceful and quiet, but that's the whole point. Is it's the Four Seasons. It's taking you through the whole cycle of the year, and you've got storms, and you got the changing of the seasons, and but the parts where it gets going, man, that fucking rocks. It's still really, really wildly popular for a reason. Oh, and I was wrong, Steve. I said that the Zales Jewelry used winter in one of their Christmas ads because I just assumed it was winter since it was like a Christmas ad. It was summer that they used. That clip I told you to listen to, where they just really, just go nuts for a few minutes. That's part of summer. I guess it's a summer thunderstorm or something. And that was what was used, and that's the most recognizable part of all of the whole entire Four Seasons is that little section of summer right there. And so that's probably why they used it. Oh, you're going to do another live stream tomorrow? Nice. I was going to say Zany's going to be in heaven. Zany loves Shirley's live streams. Yeah, the if you can get a really good version of it, like a full symphony, and it's good audio and everything, just listen to Vivaldi's Four Seasons, man. It's fucking awesome. All right, everybody. That was my big, exciting music for tonight. One that we've all known about our whole entire lives and has been around for hundreds of years, probably. When did Vivaldi write Four Seasons? Computer, when did Vivaldi write Four Seasons? $1723. So yeah, that one's been around for a while. You can all say goodnight to my little mushroom friend. Yeah, I enjoyed the heavy metal versions of it. I did find it interesting though, even with the toccata and fugue, which initially I said like you should hear that like with full orchestration. And when I went to find an example of it, I realized like there is no full orchestration with toccata. It's just a fucking organ. There's no orchestra behind it. It's just somebody on an organ. But it like the point was still made when I listened to either that or the Four Seasons. As awesome as the dude on the guitar was, and as cool as everything sounded, um, it sounded flat. It just sounded dead. There was no life to it. It was just a dude ripping on a guitar, which sounded really cool. But listen to the Four Seasons with the whole fucking orchestra playing it and all the fucking texture and layers and all the stuff that's going on in there. It's just such a more full, rich experience than listening to a guy slaying on a guitar. Again, it was cool and I enjoyed it, but it fell short compared to what really listening to how it's meant to be played. And the same principle applies to the toccata and fugue, because even though that was only played on a single instrument, it's just played on the organ. The video I found of it was a dude playing on one of those organs that's like the size of a building. It's got pipes, that vibrate your body when they, listening to that versus listening to a guitar playing it, the depth and the texture and all the different layers and the reverb you were getting and the vibe, it was just amazing listening to it on an organ instead of somebody playing a guitar. All right, let's see. Am I missing any of these comments I need to be reading? I see comments rolling by. I'm trying not to get distracted by them, but I'm trying to talk, think, and read comments all at the same time. It's not easy. All right. I love you too, Zini. All right. I'm all caught up on comments. So, last thoughts, anybody? We'll start winding it down. We'll do a few minutes of disco ball light. I feel bad for my poor wife tonight. I'm usually, my voice tends to be very booming and carries. And tonight I'm deliberately, almost shouting down here because we're limited on microphone. All right, now it's time for a party. Say goodnight to Gus, everybody. Gus is not going to be with us after tomorrow, possibly later tonight, but probably tomorrow. Gus is going to meet his demise. You basically made it to the end. You can say you made it to the end, Steve, because even if I do get to talking and I'm here for another half an hour or whatever, by the time we're this far, um, I don't mind a little bit of hair, but honestly, much longer than this, and it starts getting on my nerves. I don't mind it right up until I can feel it touching my ears. Um, when I can feel the hair like long enough to touch my ears, it just I can feel it touching my ears and it bothers me, and so I shave it. Don't like my hair touching my ears. I never said I wasn't weird, but I don't like my hair touching my ears. So this is my winter hair. This actually you put a hat on. That actually you'd be surprised for anybody that's never been truly bald. You think, oh, what difference could this make? This makes a huge difference when you go out in the winter versus having a completely smooth head. Is how cold you get. So this with the hat on, I'm good to go in the winter. Once the weather warms up, the hair will be gone again. Oh, dude, I constantly, if I don't like the hair, I was going to make a comment about having I got to spend more time trimming my ears and my eyebrows and my nose than I do my head anymore. But I decided I've made that joke so many times I wasn't going I wasn't going to go into that. But yeah, I don't like the hair touching my ears from the inside out either. I definitely get the old man bird's nest thing going on. Sucks getting old. I'm not even that old. I'm only 54 for fuck's sake. Oh, I couldn't imagine having hair on my neck. What that would feel like having hair that long that was back on my neck. I haven't had hair like that since I was fucking 14. Now my face is a different story. 38 months. That is old. All right, everybody. I'm going to take Gus in the other room. I'll start cleaning up last couple of things. I won't be able to chat with you while I'm in the other room, but I'll be right back. Get your final thoughts in. Oh yeah, you can definitely get fish to jump through little hoops or play basketball or all kinds of weird stuff. Look on YouTube; you can see fish doing all kind of stuff. YouTube's got everything. I do have to say that was 1 gram of mushroom, and it was a really little mushroom. And the little ones tend to pack a wallop. So 1 gram of an entire small mushroom is not the same as taking a big mushroom and then just breaking a 1 gram piece off of it, which is what I typically do when I let them finish. These I broke off early while they were still really small and the caps were still closed. And so it was a gram, but I didn't really know what I was getting into. I didn't know how potent it was actually going to be. And this is pretty solid for a gram. So it was a little more potent than I was expecting, but it's put me right where I want to be. This is like the sweet spot of taking the mushrooms. It's fun, but I don't feel like I'm tripping. It's a good place to be. I'm happy about it. I'm happy you were here too, Vonk. Oh, let me see. I'm glad to be back, Laura. I was going to talk about my break and what I thought about with the YouTube channel and all that kind of stuff. Um, I still can, but I'm not going to worry about that tonight. I was just glad to be back. Had some mushrooms for the first time in like 2 months. So it's Friday night. I just figured we'd have a good time tonight. But we'll talk about it. I've sort of rethought my channel, and it was a nice little reset. I had a nice couple of weeks off to think about stuff, and so I'm back, and we'll see which direction we go from here. So anyway, I'm glad to be back, and I'm glad you all had a good time. Oh, let's see. Oh, no, new job, new schedule. Well, I'm planning on sticking with my old schedule. I'm planning on coming back for the most part. I may skip a night, more frequently here and there for mental health reasons. I'm not going to feel so committed to being here every Friday and Sunday. We'll stick with the Wednesdays because, Wednesdays people are actually paying for. So I'll do the Wednesday live stream for my members only. But then Fridays and Sundays, we're still, tentatively scheduling 8 o'clock, Friday night, Sunday night, for the foreseeable future. And we're just going to play it by ear. But I will be back this Sunday. I don't see any reason why I won't. So if you can join us then, it will be Sunday night, 8 o'clock Eastern time. I don't know what time that is where you are. Oh, let's see. Just getting caught up. Oh, I know you meant you had the new schedule. I was just letting you know. I kind of honestly forgotten about the whole taking a break thing or whatever. I failed to mention that at all tonight. Never crossed my mind, which is probably a good thing. But I was just letting you know what the normal schedule is. So whatever your new schedule is, I'm here 8 o'clock on Fridays and Sundays. So hopefully that can fit into your new work schedule there. I saw those hearts flying. I was wondering who they were flying from. I was going to let Gus say goodnight to you again, Zini, but I already put Gus to bed for the night. So Gus is in the other room already, having his last night's sleep, and Gus will not be with us on Sunday. Anyway, on that note, I'm going to say thanks for hanging out, everybody. I'm glad you were able to join me on my triumphant return to live streaming. I'm back, baby. So thanks for being with me. And I will see you guys all on Sunday. So long. And thanks for all the fish. Good night.